Boy, oh boy, I'm actually excited for one of the things I get to say today, which is, hey guys, my name is Toby, and this is my voice 6 months on T. What the fuck? It's been 6 months. So I actually totally meant to do this video on, what the hell day is it today? It's the 28th today. So meant to do this Friday, but of course, best laid plans did not actually come to pass. So I'm doing it today instead. Hooray! I can't believe it's been 6 months already. Like, the place I was in 6 months ago was so different to the place that I am now. Like, there just aren't any words. And a lot of stuff has happened. Like, not with respect to changes per se, but yeah, those are also there. But so, one of the things that has happened for me, and excuse the plaintive yowling in the background, I think that's my mom's cat deciding that she needs a friend. But one of the things that's happened is that I've only been agonizing about a chosen name for myself for the better part of my life. Even before I knew that I was trans, like, I have really detested my birth name. As I think I mentioned in the last video, Daniel, which is the name for this channel, is not my birth name. Definitely not. And it seemed to me at a certain point that I was going to have to compromise one of the criteria that I'd hoped to operate on for my name of choice. But I actually somehow or other managed to whittle it down to two choices. And so the one that I am trying right now, and which I am out to some people about, is Tobias. And I think I remember last time that I made a video, I did mention that name. So that's where we're at. We're trying Toby, and Toby is working out for me so far. I actually tried it just kind of on the fly. I got a job. So that is one thing that has changed since the last video I made. I think I ended up saying, hey, I hope it won't be 2 months before I make the next video. And then it was, sure enough, 2 months before I made the next video. Such is life. But I got a job as a barista. Yay. It's, obviously it's not the world's most, like, you know, intellectual and highbrow jobs, but I actually really enjoy it. And I have to say that for the past 2 to 4 weeks that I've been doing it, the most supportive entities in my life as, like, a queer identified and or trans person have been my workplace and my partner and my friends. I have to shout out to my friends. My friends have been great. My friends have been amazing. Unfortunately, most of my friends are not local to me, and so that, as far as, like, people that I interact with in meat space on a regular basis, that's going to be my partner and my job. One of the other big things that's happened for me, other than finding my chosen name, is, and trying it out, is that I came out to 2 parent figures as non-binary. I've been spamming my Facebook to the effect that I'm transgender and non-binary, like, for a number of weeks now. I first came out officially on Trans Day of Visibility, which may have been the day of my last video. And so it's like, although I haven't specifically told the family, some of the family that follow me on social media, that I'm transgender or that I'm transitioning, it's sort of like I make it plainly obvious. And so I haven't, like, endeavored to specifically have that conversation yet for various reasons. But the people who know seem to be pretty supportive. And by contrast, so my family tree is very complicated, which is part of the reason it took me a million zillion years to choose a name, because I wanted to honor all sections of my family tree. And I come from extremely, like, sort of varied and separate roots. And so that was really, really hard. I digress. And so the folks that I came out to most recently are members of my adoptive family. And they're in that category of people that appear to be well-meaning and, like, open, but not really, like, educated or really willing to put in any kind of legwork to educate themselves. And that puts me in a really awkward position. My folks are the kind of people that if they hear something and it's not, like, exactly in line with what they have in mind, they will interrogate you about it, and they will, like, ask you a million questions, which on the surface of it sounds fine, except that the way that the questions sort of are engineered comes off as very, like, dismissive. And my fucking God, like, I came out a second time to these same parents while also in the room with a couple of their relatives that were hearing it for the first time. And they still found a way to, like, mansplain to me about how to choose, like, the gender presentation that I want based on what I've said about my identity. And anyone who knows anything about trans, queer, or hell, any other minority group knows that that's fucking bonkers. You don't go to someone, hear about their experience, and be like, yeah, but you know what you're really doing wrong? Like, this, and this, which is totally not relevant to my life. Like, my parents, bless them, for their entire lives have just been, like, trying to instill the right way to do things in me, but for 26 and a half years now that I am, they have managed to do that in a way that completely paralyzes, like, my ability to come across like I know what I'm talking about. And also, like, just, they're, like, oddly insensitive to feelings, and yet, like, at the same time, like, telling me how I should be feeling about things, and, like, it's just kind of been a hot mess, and I'm not really sure what to do with it. And it's been weird because it's one of those comings out where it's like when you come out to someone and they're shocked, and so in the heat of the moment they react badly. Like, not that that's any fun to deal with, but if then those people are willing to acknowledge that this is unfamiliar to them and to come to you or to somebody else to learn, I feel almost that this is a worse outcome because I have a bunch of people whose listening ears are clearly not turned on, and it makes education impossible for me, and it makes it incredibly hard for me to ever get a word in edgewise. You know, these are people who just don't have any idea who the fuck I am, frankly, because they haven't been listening for 26 years. You know, 15 years in the case of the step-parent who happens to be in my life. 15 and a half. And so that was really exhilarating, but also distressing and weird. And I don't know very many people at my work, like, super duper well at all. But the fact that people who have, like, never previously met a gender non-binary person, let alone maybe a trans person in some cases, who, like, I know that one of the people I work with, at least, is somebody who watches Fox, which the fact that this person is able to use my pronouns and my chosen name with me with a straight face after, like, hearing about my pronouns and my name for less than a couple of weeks, like, damn. The fact that, like, people who don't know me very well, but this is one of the few things they know about me, are doing better in their lives than the people who have known me for most of my life is outrageous and frankly hurtful. And anyway, that got a little bit longer than I intended it to be. But so the chosen name thing's going great. I'm out with my chosen name at work, and my partner and I are trying it together. And a couple of my close friends and I are trying it too. It seems like there are a lot of things there are a lot of things I never learned about choosing a name. that I wish I had known. Like the fact that it is going to feel like writing with your left hand for a while. Your birth name or your dead name, if you choose to retire it permanently, are the names that you've lived with for however much of your life. Like, I don't have the fortune of having been one of those people that knew that there was another name that I could have arrived with if I had been born with slightly different anatomy. And so I've heard stories of like trans people who have heard like the masculine name that they would have had, and then they're like, that's my name. I didn't have that blessing in my life. And so I have a shit ton of trauma and experience behind the name that I was given at birth. It is still used to aggressively gender me wrongly in various situations that are kind of uncomfortable. And there is a certain amount of emotion behind it in the fact that, so I mentioned my adopted family. I was adopted at birth and as a baby. And so parts of my name that I will be letting go of are parts that were chosen by my birth mom. And I've chosen names that I think will still continue to honor her family, because that was really important to me. That was one of my major criteria, was that it had to have some relation there. And honestly, I think that's part of the reason that earlier names that I tried never stuck, is that I was missing the full picture. If this name really sticks on and I find myself using it in a majority of my life, to the extent that I want to change my name legally, then the name that I'll be choosing for my middle name will change as well. Or I'll have a chosen name for my middle name. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of the major like social stuff that's happening. I finally got my tea like situation sorted out. A word to the wise, if you're out there and you're doing injections for the first time, you've never done them before. My country and my state, as many are, I think, is extremely reticent about allowing people to access tea, and or more of it than they should be allotted by their prescription. And so what was happening is that, like, my dose is 0.15 ml. I get a 1 ml bottle at a time because that's what the folks at my insurance are willing to give to me. However, if you draw up to the 0.1 line and then you pull out the syringe entirely and you just draw air for the rest of the way to 0.15, you will get exactly 0.15 mLs of tea in your bottle or in your syringe, because what happens is that the stem here to which your needle attaches traps fully like 30% of my dose. And so an experience that I've had to navigate is that I was measuring out functionally what was 0.2 with no wastage at all of my tea every time I was drawing without realizing it, because I was supposed to be drawing 0.15, but I was wasting a third of that dose every time I was injecting. And so I got to week number 5 and I had nothing left. And I got to week 6 and I had nothing left. And so something I want to impress is that if this happens to you, your doctor can help you. Okay, like, don't take no for an answer. Pester the shit out of them. This is their job. There is a magic word that they can use if you find yourself running out of tea, so that you can get access to your medication. Because what I experienced was frankly absurd. I've mentioned that 0.05, as in like 30% of my dose, gets trapped in the syringe as wastage if I'm not extremely and painfully careful to measure it just right. And so not only was I wasting, a third of a dose every time for 4 weeks, so that's 1.5 doses worth that I just had in the stem of my syringe that never made it into my body. But additionally, I only have a leeway of about like 0.06 mLs or some similar thing. Like maybe it's 0.05 mLs is my only leeway. And so if I waste nothing and I do not measure exactly and only like tea oil in the barrel of my syringe with only air in the stem, then I will not have a full dose when I get to week 5 or 6. And so your mileage may vary. Please learn from my fail, but also please feel reassured, I hope, that there is a way for you to get your medicine if you find yourself in this situation. And I've heard also that it's not actually that bad if you get to the end of your dose and you've been on T for a while and you need to wait a week. Like, the emotional aspect of it, my experience has been, sucks. But you're not going to regress. Your, like, stubble is not going to disappear into your face or anything like that. So, a very long story longer, I had some T issues and I fixed them with the help of my doctor. It was great. What else has been going on for me? I think that's the majority of what's really been majorly happening for me recently. I'm really struggling with finding, like, I don't know what you even want to call it, like, a barista job is a real people job, but, like, it's clearly not the grown-up job like my mom thought I would get when I moved home with her with my partner in tow. And so I'm really struggling to find that kind of job. And the grown-up job, I mean. And the thing that makes it so distressing is it's just impossible to hear myself fucking think in here. Like, I have so many opinions around me all the time about what I should be doing with my time. And I mentioned this, like, 10 minutes ago when I was talking about how people were responding to my fucking transition. Like, and that's something they know nothing about. And probably believe they have no reason to know anything about. By comparison, like, the thing that I'm doing for a career is something that I've had tons of opinions coming at me about for, like, 15 years at least. Like, as soon as I was old enough for people to start objectifying certain, like, talents that they felt I had or whatever. And I just feel like I don't have the space mentally often to figure out what it is I would really like to be doing. I've also been eating like trash, and I've been not exercising, which has contributed to all of the emotional niceness that I've been going through. But that's kind of an aside. I just, where the fuck do I start looking? How do I start picking up these pieces? Because, like, all the power in the world to retail workers and to, like, food service workers and stuff, but something needs to change if I'm ever going to make above minimum wage, and if I'm ever going to get health insurance and, like, be able to make enough money to move out of my mom's house, which is desperately needed. And I just have no idea where to start looking for things that, like, because I have a college degree, I'm not totally untrained and uncertified in anything. But I don't even know how to get that train started. Like, the types of jobs that I seem to be being positioned for by, like, well-intentioned family members and stuff just make me want to tear out my hair and cry. And, like, my mom's not even talking to me about the fact that I am obviously transitioning, and so, like, I have no idea what it is that she thinks constitutes a supportive work environment. Like, and that's so important to me. That's, like, a critical freaking piece of, like, the work culture puzzle. I know that to an extent I can't find that out until I get there, but I don't want to apply to a place knowing that they're homophobic or whatever, or transphobic, and then waste my time and theirs bothering to interview or even mail in that application and, like, cover letter. Like, I have limited time in my life to dedicate to this. So yeah, I guess if you imagine someone came to you with, like, an English degree and they said, if you put me in one more retail or receptionist job, I will probably do something drastic. Help. What would you say to that person? I believe that I can learn anything about anything and then explain that to anyone, consumer world or otherwise. But it's just trying to use my very generic transferable skills to try and narrow down keywords has not been a successful time. And so I'm hoping to find something else, I guess. That's all I got for this particular video. Let me know if you have any questions for me, as always. And I'm hoping I can start using my chosen name on my social media soon. I jumped the gun and I changed my Facebook name to something that I didn't end up staying with, and so I have to wait a couple of months in order for that to happen. But hopefully soon. I hope y'all are well, and talk to you soon. Hopefully, I'm not going to say hopefully before 2 months, because the last time I did that, it was 2 months. But I'll talk to y'all soon. Take care. Stay well.